All right, good evening. We're going to start the May the 2nd commission meeting. We'll have invocation by Brad Lomneck, Pledge of Allegiance by the mayor, then we'll have roll call. Please stand.
Bless our first responders that are here with us tonight and that are working throughout our city.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ooh, sorry. Commissioner Kennedy?
Here.
Commissioner Wilson? Here. Mayor Johnson?
here.
Commissioner Firstner?
Here.
Commissioner Hart?
Here.
Okay, we have police officers, National Peace Officers Memorial Day, May the 15th, and National Police Week, May the 14th through the 20th. I've got that one here. I'm going to read it. We also have the Municipal Clerks Week was hanging out. You got it out front, right? Yes. Also, I got one for the National Day of Prayer here after I get through with this one. And then we'll have Ocoee Youth Council come up. All right. Whereas in 1962, President Kennedy proclaimed May the 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day and the calendar week in which May the 15th falls as National Police Week. Established by a joint resolution of Congress in 1962, National Police Week pays special recognitions to those law enforcement officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty for the safety and protection of others. And whereas every day our nation's dedicated law enforcement officers put themselves at risk to keep their fellow citizens safe, our officers stand as leaders educating the community about the importance of public safety. And whereas, as the city of Ocoee observes Peace Officer Memorial Day and Police Week, we pay tribute to the courageous men and women who wear the badge and keep the peace. And whereas, we appreciate the extraordinary efforts and sacrifices made by officers and their family members on a daily basis in order to protect our schools, workplaces, roadways, and homes. And whereas law enforcement officers deserve our appreciations for the work they do, which is to help people on a daily basis protect our citizens and, if necessary, stand in harm's way for the communities they serve. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Commission of the City of Ocoee does hereby proclaim May the 15th, 2023 as National Peace Officers Memorial Day and May the 14th through the 20th, 2023 as National Police Week in the City of Ocoee, Florida, and publicly salute the service of law enforcement officers in our community and communities across the nation.
Here, here.
Bring him up a picture?
Huh?
Can you bring him up a picture with the proclamation?
Well, we can do the deputy chief. You want to come up and get the proclamation, sir? What's this for you? There you go. I didn't know that was under there. Picture right there. Our deputy chief officer, so we want to take and give this to you, take it to the police station. On the national prayer thing, I'm gonna have I'm sorry, my name's going blank here,
Judy.
Mrs. Bob. Judy, I'm sorry, Miss Chadwick. I want her to tell you, come over to the mic there where it says public and tell them a little bit what we're gonna try to do.
This Thursday is the National Day of Prayer. That's May 4th. And what we're going to do is right out here in front of City Hall, we're going to gather and pray and sing a few hymns. And that's the way the tradition began, just a gathering on the city, in front of the city halls, pray mostly for the city government and the people in it. And so that's what we're going to do. It'll be a very short time. It'll be at 12 noon, and the community, of course, is invited.
You're starting at 11, right?
12.
12, I'm sorry.
12, yeah.
I'm always.
12 noon. So people can come on their lunchtime.
Well, it'll be out in front of City Hall. If anybody wants to come, feel free to come. You don't have to come. Just open up, and we're going to have a couple of preachers here and have a little few minutes of prayer. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you Thursday.
Thursday.
The
The 4th.
I'll get one of them right tonight, don't worry. All right. Let's see, Asian American Heritage Council.
Oh, you.
You click here. Just bring them.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners and everyone. My name is Vima, the current Secretary of Asian American Heritage Council. I came from Vietnam, and I am a representative for the Vietnamese community and Asian American Chamber of Commerce of Central Florida. I am honored to be here today to represent the Asian American Heritage Council, also known as AAHC. The AAHC is a nonprofit organization established in 1999, representing a diverse range of Asian nations and ethnicities. Our organization is dedicated to preserving Asian culture and heritage, encouraging involvement in our local communities, honoring Asian American community leaders, and recognizing academic and leadership achieving among the students. The AAHC is composed of 11 member organizations, and they are representing for various Asian countries such as China, the Philippines, Japan, India, Korea, Indonesia, and Thailand. The AAHC's goals are to preserve Asian culture and heritage through informative programs, advance civic, educational, and the social interests of Asian Americans in their communities, recognize and honor community leadership, and recognize and reward Asian American students for academic excellence and community service. The organization's purpose is to enhance appreciation and awareness of cultural diversity and heritage in the community and to build unity and community leadership. Thank you for your continued support. And now I would like to invite Yan Lu, the current president of AAHC, to briefly speak about the Asian Cultural Festival event. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Yan Lu, and actually I come from Shanghai, China, and I'm currently the president of AHC. And I want to present our Asian Culture Festival. And this is like we hold the annual Asian Culture Festival every year in May. And this celebration showcases a wide variety of Asian American cultures and talent from Central Florida's Asian American ethnic groups from China, India, Indonesia, Japan, Korea, Philippines, Taiwan, Thailand, and Vietnam. And every year, the festival draws thousands of people, and there were booths available for business vendors, for ethnic cuisines, and would be very, amazing each year. And last year, actually, we have over 50 vendors and sponsors, and 3,000 people attended, and we have spent nearly $6,000. So this year, we have a budget of $6,000. So the main purpose for the Asian Culture Festival helps raise funds for the Student Achiever Awards, and our annual goal is $10,000. So keeping short, in order to get more students to get the scholarship, and we would like to ask the waiver on the rental fee for the facility. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was last year, it turned out to be a great
Yes, yeah.
place to be at, and a lot of people, we appreciate you coming back. So commissioners, we need to let them know if we'll do the waiver of the fees for the,
I'll make a motion. to
Commissioner Wilson makes the motion to waive the fees.
approve. Are you using the park and Lakeshore Center, or just the park?
The park and the
Yeah,
center.
they'll use
So we have the indoor performance and the outdoor vendors.
Have you already got it booked?
Yes,
It's already,
yes,
Okay,
yes.
it's on the-
Yes,
that's-
everything.
thank you.
Yeah, all set.
I'll make that motion to
Do I
approve.
hear a second? Second. Second by Mr. Hart. All right, no more comments? Let's vote.
Thank you so much.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Wow, great. Thank you. Thank you. And we would like to invite all the officials and with our board members to take a picture together with our banner.
All right, let's get a picture out front, everybody, all the commissioners.
Oh, now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So we brought our banner.
Oh. It was right now. I didn't know it was right. Okay, good.
This one?
All right, Ocoee Youth Council Program. OYC members and OYC Coordinator Dillard, please come up front.
So I have to tell everybody that the students are, I told them how proud everybody in the audience is just to see their lovely faces and see young people, and they said that they're nervous, but I said, you don't have to be nervous because everyone out there is so proud of each one of you like I am. So no matter what you say, it's going to be great. Anyway, I'm Dorcas Dillard. I'm the coordinator of the Ocoee Youth Council, and it's a pleasure to bring most of our members here today. We had a full staff of 9 members this year, which was beautiful, and they were all very active, and I'm looking forward to telling you a little bit about them all. So is the picture? Oh, okay. So that's all of us. That's everyone that's in the group. Plus, of course, our wonderful liaison, our city clerk here, Melanie, who has always helped us with everything about the group since the very beginning. And I guess Amber is somewhere in there. She's in. Okay. Amber, I still mentioned you anyway. Let's see. Okay, so I just want to tell you about some of the things. We were very busy. This year was very busy with a lot of community service activities that we had. So some of the things that we assisted the Ocoee PD with the Toys for Kids program. We did things for senior citizens this year. We volunteered at the Ocoee Unity Day Festival. And so the kids were really involved. And one thing that was kind of fun for me is that anytime I told them, wear your shirts, they normally wore their shirts. They were always coordinated. So it always makes it easier for people to recognize that we're there and to get more students involved. So some of you that are out there with kids that are high school age, please consider us and tell them about us for next year. We also did the Martin Luther King Parade. Oh yeah, that's when we did the Valentine's. I almost forgot about the Valentine's. Yeah, so we did cards for senior citizens. So it's really, and it just gives them an idea of how important it is to give back to the community, no matter age. There's Ben, look at you. Hi. Ben actually spoke, so this is his second time at the podium, but he actually wanted to tell the commission about what we do for our legislative days in Tallahassee, so he came and spoke. We had a field trip to the Supervisor of Elections office where we learned about how the electoral process works because we had the mayor event campaign, so we went to see some of that. This is another day. We had the Ocoee homecoming parade that day, and we did a whole lot of stuff. I get ready to you saw me getting ready to do that. Okay, so I'm actually gonna have our two ladies. Why don't you both come up and just talk about the trip to Tallahassee a little bit? I'm just putting you on the spot. I am. Come on, you can go up. Because unfortunately this year I was unable to go, even though my picture's up there, I sat in the van. And this year I just have to say thank you so much to the Ocoee Police Department because they actually donated the person, the lieutenant, to drive for us and get the students here. And I think the most exciting part is that we didn't have to worry about anybody bothering the children because we had a police officer and they were in a van, a police van, so that made it much easier for the trip, I'm sure. So if I go through the pictures, can you just talk a little bit about it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I'll switch.
Okay.
So this is actually our second day there. This is when we had a mock legislative event. So we each got assigned a different type of election. We had juvenile, we had agriculture and all that kind of stuff. And we went and we voted on bills that were trying to get passed. It was a good event. I mean, there was a lot of students, so we all had to communicate, but it was pretty fun. So.
Give us your name.
Oh, I'm Shay. Sorry.
That would be helpful.
So this was actually our first night. We were able to go and meet with my grandfather, Mayor Rusty Johnson. He was also up there for his mayor meetings, and we ended up going to dinner, all of us with him. So.
You want to add to that?
Oh.
No, you're good. All right.
We're asking.
So this was when we met with Representative Douglas Bankson. We all sat and we all asked different questions and got a better understanding on why he became a representative for our state. He explained very well in detail, and we also figured out that he does many different jobs. He's in a band, he's a flight attendant, and all that kind of stuff. So it was really cool. We got to sit and talk for about 30 minutes with him, and we figured out exactly what he does for our city as a whole, because he's representative for us. So.
Let's see what it is. Let's see what it is. I think that one works too. Oh, that's the same.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is whenever we met with State Senator Geraldine Thompson, and she pretty much told us everything she does for Orange County. And yeah, pretty good meeting.
You forgot your name.
Oh, I'm Olivia Johnson. Nice to meet everyone.
Okay, that's another picture of the group.
Yes, she was very helpful with information to tell us about everything she does and where she came from because she used to be a state representative. So yeah, it was pretty interesting to learn how she moved up and how she stopped for a little bit and then came back.
So this is when we got to spend time all together with like in between all of our events. A lot of us stayed in the lobby when we got back to the hotel and played pool for 3 hours until 12 o'clock at night. But we all got to spend time, all that kind of stuff at the cafes and stuff. So it was really good. We got to sit there and communicate and got to know each other more than we already did. So more pictures. And then the second picture is us at the city hall. That is where we had our mock legislative event. But yeah.
You want to add anything to the mock? No?
So while we were there, we went into the legislative building, and we actually saw a UCF night. So that was pretty cool. We all got to take a picture with him. And then the picture at the bottom, we got to sit in front of the old city hall, and there's actually a museum inside that we got to tour and look at all the old pictures of all the senators and all that kind of stuff. So.
Next picture. Oh, thank you. Well, I just have to add that the trip to Tallahassee is always the point that and usually it's in February, it was just later this year, but it's the turning point for the group to me, because it allows them to get to know each other, because we're so busy with just the regular things that we do, that they get to know each other and network and really bond and really begin the relationship. So that's the part that's exciting, that you can't really put in paper or words that happens. Don't you think? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, so what about this? Is somebody going to talk about this?
Yes.
Okay.
This picture is one of our visits to the Ocoee Police Department. During this 2022 to 2023 year of the Ocoee Youth Council, we visited the Ocoee Police Department multiple times for our community service projects. The first time we interviewed Chief Placencia for our winning video that we submitted to the Florida League of Cities Youth Council competition. The video focused on the safety signs that OIC, in partnership with the Ocoee Police Department, created to encourage people to stop speeding. We also visited the Ocoee Police Department to help put together goodie bags and write cards for senior citizens of Ocoee. Finally, we volunteered during the Christmas and Valentine's Day holidays to put these gifts together. Both projects allowed us to give back to families and seniors making a change in Ocoee. From these experiences, I learned the importance of serving my community, whether that be by obeying the speed limits to keep everyone around me safe, or by spreading kindness and joy that I want to keep giving to Ocoee. I am thankful for these experiences that I've had in OIC this year, and I'm looking forward to next year's community service projects. Thank you.
And who are you?
Allison Willemjen.
And I guess this picture, this is a picture of the utility department. I know you're not going to speak about the utility department, but this was one of the places that we visited. So we got to, and you can imagine what we're looking down in, if you can imagine. But this was one of the visits. We did department visits, and we had our commissioners come and visit us at some of our meetings also, so they get an idea. Part of one of the important aspects of this group is to learn about city government, because a lot of times you don't know about that until you get involved later in life. So we want young people to know about city government and what that involves.
Okay. Hello, my name is Kennedy, and on Wednesday, April 26th, my fellow OIC members and I visited our local fire station. The fire department became my favorite learning experience, even over urban planning, which I thoroughly enjoyed learning about. The fire department requires that their firefighters are in good physical condition and uphold a squeaky clean record, as well as an outstanding moral character. Firefighters endure many challenges on their job and sacrifice so much for their health and time to make sure that we, citizens of Ocoee, are safe. It was an honor getting to personally meet some heroes right here at my local city's fire station, and it really made me appreciate them more than I have ever in the past.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Kennedy. And Allison already spoke. Let's see, who do I have next? Robert is not here today, but he's at Wekiva High School. So the three on the chart here hopefully are all returning members, and they've all said they're going to return. So there are underclassmen. And then we start with our seniors.
Hi, Ocoee. I'm Ben.
Hey, Ben.
Long time no see for some of you guys. So I'm going to talk about two organizations with OIC. So they are urban planning, and then when we went to the Orange County Supervisor of Election office. So the first was urban planning. So when we came to a meeting, they came to us. So I was fascinated by seeing how Ocoee's been planned and how the future planning is going to make Ocoee look amazing with all the new restaurants and plans. Because while we were there, they showed us a plan. Was it the 50-year plan, 20-year plan?
Yeah, 25.
25-year plan. So we got to see like the vision for Ocoee of the past and then how it's going to be in the future. And we could literally see like the changes in pictures. So that was pretty cool. And then the other experience that really interested me was the Orange County Supervisor of Election office. With that, me, Jake, and Miss Dillard, we were able to drive down to the supervisor office in Orlando, and we got to see how ballots were canvassed and voted in. So just a really cool way of seeing how the election was going, because we did it the Wednesday or Thursday?
Tuesday.
I mean, I
You
was
were
guaranteed
close.
to get it right,
You were
but
close.
so we were able to go in that Tuesday and just see how they did the canvassing of votes. In other words, votes that they couldn't count, that they were checking their authenticity, right? I knew that, all the ballots. But so I really enjoyed those, and each of those struck me because ballots are important, obviously, in elections. And then I like the future planning of Ocoee because it's just really cool to see what the plans are. Yeah.
Yes. And Ben's going to be going to the University of Florida, political science. All right. Okay, and our president, she's not able, she's working hard. Jayla, she's going to Spelman, also for political science. There's Olivia. Olivia she's going to Valencia, and she's going to be a radiologist. At least that's what she thinks so far. I'm going to make her a doctor, though. And there's Shay. Hey, Shay. Shay also, radiology, cousin. All right, and then Jake is not here today. It's his birthday, so he couldn't make it, but he's also going to University of Florida, and him and Ben are good friends also, and he's business and marketing. And then Carla is going to Florida A&M University also. So, So one thing I just wanted to tell you all, because Chick-fil-A always comes through. So they gave me a meal, because I know how much you all love Chick-fil-A. So we have a Chick-fil-A. I have to give you those, because Beth would not, if she could be here, she would be giving it. There you are. So when I asked them where they wanted me to, for one lunch, I said, okay, I'm going to treat them. We're going to all go. And then I said, where? And in my head, I was like, okay, how much is this going to cost? 10 kids. And then they're like, Chick-fil-A, Miss Dillard. I was like, Chick-fil-A? Okay. We'll go to Chick-fil-A.
No.
Yes, come on now. All right. I think that's all I have for now. Yep. All right. Thank you again. Thank you so much. And I sent everybody, you're going to get an email from me. Ooh. You said, ooh.
We'll stand up behind. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot the certificates.
How about us standing? Here you go.
Okay.
We'll stand up behind.
That exercise I can't handle. I'm working the side.
Wait a minute, we're supposed to be in that picture. Hey, Melanie, come on, Melanie. Come on, y'all.
That's the last presentation, right?
Oh, shoot.
And Mayor, I signed you.
That's all right.
You didn't have to you should have
But no
told-
checks in there, were there?
There's no checks.
No, okay. All right, I want to, Ms. Leroy, I wanted to ask you, do you want to hold us to that last part of the meeting about the election? Did you want to talk about the forum? All right,
Can you make it?
I won't forget you. Mr. Moyer? Everybody, tonight, we're on a three-minute discussion.
Jim Moyer, Arden Park. I'm going to be paraphrasing and going really quick here. What do we know? According to these leading experts here, not much. Did we know that gas prices, for those of us of a certain age, did we know that gas prices would ever exceed 50 cents? As a child, they never did for me. And then they jumped all the way up in 1980 to $1.19. That was unheard of, and people in my area went out of business because of that. More recently, did we know that a global pandemic was coming in 2020, or Russia would invade Ukraine in 2022, or that gas prices would skyrocket, the greatest adjusted or unadjusted in history, from 301 in 2021 on average to 490 in 2022, the highest ever? Okay, the construction industry seems to accept this. They understand. They know it's a volatile supply chain, and they know that nothing's guaranteed. Forecasting. Do we really know? Einstein says he never thinks about the future because it's going to come soon enough. Ken Galbraith, the leading economist in our era, in my opinion, says there are two kinds of forecasters: those who don't know and those who don't know that they don't know. Warren Buffett, a much respected person in my opinion, said, and I skipped that, I'm sorry, much respected person said, forecasting tells more about the forecaster than the future. Construction industry accepts again, and Stream Realty Partners said, quoted Yogi Berra, predictions are hard, especially about the future. The Association of General Contractors said owners have to make quick decisions. I'm asking for an explanation, please. The mayor at the last meeting asked about why certain projects weren't even started. My question is, first, is it on the agenda tonight? The comment was made last meeting that prices had increased. Okay, but do we know whether they're going to go up or down in the future? I don't know. I'm not sure anybody knows. What are we waiting for? Who, if anybody's benefit from waiting, and who approved this waiting? Thank you for your time, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Mr. Moyer. All right, the ones about the election stuff will be at the end. We can make the comments then, and then the one is, the other ones are about item 5, so. Be at the end. All right. Staff report.
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
All righty. Public comments, we've already went ahead, did those. The other, like I said, the 2 go for the item 5. The other ones will be at the very end for the item number 10. All right, so consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion made by Commissioner Forster to do the consent agenda, approve it. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Hart. Any more comments? No more comments, let's vote. Motion carries unanimously. All right, we're going to move over to the, we have no second readings of ordinance and public hearings. We have, we're on the bottom. We have first reading of ordinance for Siri Office Building Market Street right-of-way annexation rezoning to the UD. Is the There she comes, Ms. Whitfield.
This is just first reading, Mayor. I'll go ahead and read the title to those ordinances.
All right.
First one is the annexation ordinance. This is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, annexing into the corporate limits of the City of Ocoee, Florida, certain real property containing approximately .372 acres of vacated public right-of-way pursuant to the application submitted by the property owner. Finding said annexation to be consistent with the Ocoee Comprehensive Plan, the Ocoee City Code, and the Joint Planning Area Agreement, providing for and authorizing the updating of official city maps, providing direction to the city clerk, providing for severability, repealing inconsistent ordinances, and providing for an effective date. And the rezoning ordinance on this project is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, assigning the zoning classification of City of Ocoee PUD on certain real property containing approximately .372 acres of vacated public right-of-way pursuant to the application submitted by the property owner, finding such zoning to be consistent with the Ocoee Comprehensive Plan, providing for and authorizing the revision of the official city zoning map, repealing inconsistent ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. The second reading of these ordinances will be held on May 16th, at the May 16th City Commission meeting.
All right. Now we're going to go to public hearings for Heartland Dental, Colonial Drive, preventative and comprehensive dentistry, sign variance. Zoning Manager Whitfield.
No, that's theirs.
When we get to this one, we're going to continue this.
My apologies, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everybody. This is the variance application for the Heartland Dental sign variance for the Colonial Drive Preventive and Comprehensive Dentistry Dentist Office. So the request is to Section 8-6A 1 and 2. Those speak to wall signs in the city for the property located at 1110 Blackwood Avenue. There are two variances that are being requested. The first one is for a sign height of 6 feet in lieu of 3 feet. This represents a 100% increase in the sign height, and this is for the west elevation facing Blackwood Avenue. The second variance is for an increase in the overall sign size to 70 square feet instead of 36 square feet, representing a 94% increase in sign size, and that is for the north elevation, the side facing Montgomery Avenue. Generally located in the southeast corner of Blackwood Avenue and Montgomery Avenue, it's about 1.22 acres in size for the dentist office portion. The entire property that's outlined in black is 1.96 acres. The site is currently under construction for a dental office. This is an aerial, this is last year's aerial. This is the surrounding zoning districts and the surrounding future land use categories. It's all commercial. So for variances, the applicant has to meet 4 criteria in section 4-9. So the first criteria is that there's special circumstances that are specific to that property or the structure. In this instance, it would be the property. The second criteria is that the literal application of the code would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other property owners with similar situations. The third criteria is that the circumstances for the variance do not result from the actions of the applicant. And then the last criteria is that the granting of the variance doesn't confer any special privileges to that applicant that isn't otherwise granted to others or that is denied others in the same situation. So as I mentioned, there are 2 variances. As you can see my mouse. Variance 1, the west side is F it is this logo sign here. The second one is here for this wall sign. What they're asking for is a 15-foot by 4-foot 8-inch sign, total of 70 square feet. The building is less than 6,000 square feet in size. And then the variance 2 is for this logo sign. For purposes of this presentation and the staff report in detail, staff supports variance number 2 for this symbol sign. Even though it's 6 feet in height, the overall sign area is 28 square feet, so it's well under the required max of 36 square feet. This is a monument sign that was approved for the property. It was originally approved on Blackwood, but there has been some changes to utilities that has required the shift of this monument sign to Montgomery. So this monument sign is 12 feet tall, which meets code, and the sign copy area is 36 square feet, which essentially demonstrates that the applicant can produce a sign that meets code for both a wall sign and a monument sign. In terms of our assessment, one of the comments that the applicant was stating is that the sign size increase is needed because of the travel speed of the traveler on Montgomery. So in looking at the distance from this roundabout here that's existing to the entrance driveway is about 800 feet. From the roundabout to this intersection is about 950 square feet. That's much less than a quarter of a mile distance. And as you can see, there is some slight curvature and whatnot. So, and the posted speed is only 25 miles per hour. And this red location is the proposed new location for the 36 square foot monument sign. So based on looking at this and the size of the building, the circumstances of the roadway, the travel speed, staff finds that there are no special circumstances that are particular to this property. It's well over an acre in size. The lot is not irregularly shaped and has no special conditions. Applying the sign code does not deprive the applicant of the ability to utilize, the property for a dental office. Staff finds that granting the variance would confer special privileges to this applicant that has been denied by others by these same regulations. And the circumstances for the variance are the results of the applicant's desire to have a bigger sign than the code allows. Trees along Montgomery Avenue are street trees, so they are maintained by the city's Public Works Department, and that's done on a regular basis. So with that, staff finds that there's no hardship. The PZC heard this item at their hearing a couple weeks back. They had recommended to support staff's recommendation to approve the sign height variance for 6 feet instead of 3 for the west elevation. So that sign, the CD round sign, would be 28.26 square feet at a height of 6 feet. And then to recommend a denial, they recommended denial for the sign variance to 70 square feet in lieu of 36 square feet for the dental office at Blackwood. I'm sorry. So I missed the slide. So the staff's recommendation is approval of variance 1 and denial of variance 2. And I believe the sign company is here with their presentation.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna open the public hearing. We have two people here. It's hard to read his name. Is it Retshawn? Yeah, can't read it. And Christine Wheeler. Go ahead.
I think they're waiting.
Doing a
Are you
presentation.
waiting? Oh, okay.
Sorry. Which one am I on? This one or
The PowerPoint.
Thank you very much. I am Christy Wheeler. I'm with Hilton Displays, and
Good evening. My name is Keyshawn Greaves. I'm here on behalf of Southeastern Lighting Solutions and Hilton Displays as well.
so for this dental office, again, this is just giving you a bird's eye view of where this property is located in regards to Blackwood Avenue and Montgomery Avenue. And then this is just showing you where the building is in regards to those two streets also. For the north elevation, during the planning and zoning meeting, we did take into consideration everything that the local businesses did present as far as concerns they had with the larger sign. So we would like to propose just doing a smaller size. Instead of doing the 94.44% increase, just doing a one that is just a 52 square feet sign that's 44.44% increase. So it would just be a smaller size than what we were originally proposing, but to where it's big enough to actually do the entire dentist name on there, since it is a longer than average business name for the dental office. Just to give you guys just a view of what this will look like on the building, this is an up-close shot of the proposed smaller size sign on the building, and then from a distance, like a medium distance. And then also from a further away distance for this location. For this particular sign, this just gives you like just a brief, like lighting a diagram, and also just give you like specifics for that sign. And then as far as what we're asking for the new sign itself, code does allow a 3-foot max size sign, and if it is 3 feet, the length would be 12 feet long, and we're proposing an overall height increase of 1 foot for both the height and length for a 4-foot height sign and a 13 feet long sign for that location. So a couple of things that we have as far as reasons for a sign increase. The biggest one is, and I noticed this when I was on site today, originally, they did have a monument that was on Blackwood Avenue, that gave them the most visibility for that business. Due to the utilities that they did say, we did have to move that monument to Montgomery. Where that turnaround will end up being, when you're going around that turnaround, that monument is from a distance, so you're not going to really see it based off of the trees and the light post till you're right up on it. So the first thing you're going to see is the actual sign on the building, and due to the actual distance of that sign on the building, sorry, I can't talk. Due to the actual size of the sign on the building itself, and how long that business name is, we're just trying to give our client just the best visibility so their patients can actually find their actual dentist office. You have anything you'd like to add?
Okay, all right. Anybody else in the public have any comments? All right, we're going to close the public hearing and bring it up to the dais. Anybody in the dais have any comments? All right,
I will.
start.
I'm going to start.
Scott, you hit, Commissioner.
Thank you. I have a comment, a question. You just changed the size of the sign that is before us?
After the planning and zoning meeting, Heartland Dental asked for us to talk with the municipality, and we were trying to get feedback from them and just to see what we could do just to give our client the best that we could get signage-wise, visibility-wise. And they said that we could try proposing to you guys a slightly smaller size in front of you guys.
Okay, but it is, so I have the disadvantage of that not being in the packet that I read.
Understood.
Your new proposal still requires a variance?
Yes, sir.
So I'll ask you, why don't you propose a sign that doesn't require a variance?
The big thing with the client is due to how long their business name is. If they were to the restraints of the actual sign itself, you will not be able to read very visibly the entire business name from the distance.
Okay. Thank you for your answer. I have other questions for staff, but none for that.
I will just say, I know this project is in District 2. I watch it every day as I go by. My concern is, I'm not in favor of our city becoming a mass signs. Everywhere you turn, as you go into communities, you can tell where communities have put a limit on the size of the signs, and then you look at communities that have not. And I am not interested in going above and beyond what we're allowed at this point, because I don't want to drive down a street, and you're coming out of a residential area, but it doesn't matter. It's just the point, I don't want to be a community with just signs.
Understood.
Commissioner Ferstner,
No, I don't have any comments.
Commissioner Hart.
Yeah, my main concern would be consistency. If everything else is in that area is held to one standard, and excuse me.
Yep.
Still learning, there we go, thank you. Yeah, my main concern would be consistency. If everyone else is held to one standard, then everyone should be. And I don't see circumstances that are extenuating enough to make a change, so I empathize with the situation, but we have to be consistency and fair with all the other businesses in the area. But thank you for your input, and thank you for your second offer.
Thank you.
Yeah, the same thing as the Planning and Zoning Board mentioned. I'm not for changing it because we have a standard rules. If we go changing it for you, we're going to change it for everybody. And I've already got calls from people that have that does not want that to happen. Why would you not put that monument sign in front?
My understanding is they could not have it on Blackwood because of the utilities, and then where it would go on Blackwood, Montgomery, where those intersect, I think they're putting the turnaround there, so they couldn't have it actually there.
What about the area beside the steak place?
That one, if it's the Texas Roadhouse, that would be facing Blackwood Avenue, and they originally did have it proposed to be on that road.
All right, like I said, I'm not for changing it either. We have rules for a reason, and those rules are there, and we've already had calls about it already, so I have no problem with the first variance, but the second one's the problem. All right, okay. Anybody else have any more comments? All right, we need a...
I do have I plan to vote to deny the first variance. I have questions for staff related to that.
Okay, go ahead.
In the criteria for a variance, staff, as I read, makes no distinction between the criteria being met for one variance and not being met for the other. It simply doesn't meet the criteria for a variance. It confers rights to one lot owner that aren't conferred on others. Both of these variances do. You have a requirement that the sign be less than 36 square feet and less than 3 feet. And in one section, you're waiving the total square feet, and another, you're waiving the height. They're both there for a reason. Can you give me any reason why there's a distinction between those variances in the four criteria, please?
For the variance, the first variance, or for both variances?
For the first variance, there's no argument made that you have four criteria you have to make before you can even consider granting the variance. And the second variance, you say the criteria isn't met. There's no argument made that changing the total height is different than changing the total square foot as far as the four criteria. So I don't feel that we have the right to grant the variance because I don't believe the four criteria have been met.
I didn't expand on that in the staff report or in the presentation, but if I may go back to here.
And let me ask you a follow-up to that as you do that. In here, there's a point made about irregular lot shape. Is that some special class that would meet the criteria?
So for that criteria response, yes, like in the variance that we had proposed and the commission approved was that lot that was triangular shaped and it had 3 fronts. So essentially there was no rear, it was just 3 fronts and a side setback. So a variance was granted. So in those situations where the lot has mostly wetlands that can't be encroached upon, or the slope, the topography makes it difficult for a building to be placed, meeting a setback, things of that nature, or the grade height of the crown of the road is so much different than the grade height of the property, then a variance could be considered for an increase in height. Those would be the things that we would look at. For this one, for the west sign elevation, we considered the height of that area of the building because it's so much taller than the rest of the building. It just sort of, it aesthetically looks more proportionate in size in terms of the height of the building. That was our position on it.
Okay, I get that. I disagree that the criteria gives us meets the requirements to give a variance for the height. The height's in there, it's in there for a reason. It's inconsistent to grant a variance for it, so, but thank you for your answer.
Yes,
That's my opinion.
Anybody else have any more comments?
Okay, what you're saying, Ms. Whitfield, what you're saying is the west side is within the scope of the 36.
It's within the scope of the copy area size of 36 square feet, but the max sign height is 3 feet. And they're asking for a sign that's 6 feet by 6 feet, but the radius, the area is small.
So if we're adhering to our ordinance, we are approving the first sign, that's not correct.
Neither.
Correct.
I mean,
That's-
am I correct?
Yes.
Be careful how I say this. It is the variance number one. They want more feet than our ordinance allows, correct?
Correct, in terms of the height, yes, ma'am.
So we would be denying, if we're not approving a larger sign than what the ordinance allows, then variance one would be denying if that's the case.
It is taller in height, yes, ma'am, you're correct. The size is smaller.
Okay, so, and the second variance is where they're asking to decrease it from 94.4 to 52. That's still over our 36.
Correct.
So if we are not wanting, let me correct this, if I am not wanting to increase the size of the signs by, according to our ordinance, then I would be denying both variances, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just want to clarify that.
All right, no more comments. I need a motion.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to deny both variance requests because they'd be changing the code.
Together.
Yeah, he's made a motion for both together,
All
so.
right, motion been made to deny the approval for variance 1 and variance 2. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Wilson. Any more comments? Now let's vote.
I think that you're right. Okay.
Motion carries unanimously.
Your building is lovely. I will just say it, I ride by it frequently, and it's getting a lot of attention. And we are very welcoming to new businesses in Ocoee, so I hope that they do very well. And everyone I talk to admires the building.
Thank you, and I appreciate you guys listening to us.
Absolutely.
So we're going to pull this.
We are.
Item number 6, second reading and public hearing of a resolution creating the Ocoee Northwest Brownfield area is going to be pulled until a future date.
Yeah, we'll re-advertise the date for that public hearing.
All right. Now we're going to move to the regular agenda, discussion and direction regarding the Human Relations Diversity Board. City Clerk Melanie Sibbett.
Good evening. So the item before you was discussed at the April 18th meeting. There was a comment that was made on whether the Human Relations Diversity Board appointment would be brought back to this meeting. And there was also another comment that was made with regards to modernizing the board. So the staff report before you is just for, to give staff direction on whether we will be proceeding with bringing the applications before you for appointment, or if you would like to consider Commissioner Kennedy's request of implementing a more modernized board. And I believe, Commissioner Kennedy, did you have anything to add?
I do. I think we all understand that the end goal, what we all want, is unity. The HRDB and diversity is a means to that end. It's not the end. And what I've proposed is the more modern evolution of HR diversity. We're all familiar with diversity, inclusion, and equity, but even that is kind of an older idea. Today, what cities and companies are implementing is IDEA, inclusion, diversity, equity, and access. As this would apply to a government, cities must engage, plan, deliver, and communicate municipal services. That's the purpose of the city, that are relevant and effective. I agree with the form of the board, the number of members, but I would like to see the board renamed. I'd like to see perhaps a mentor, perhaps former Chair Maxwell, to help advise the board on forming its purpose and bylaws. The current bylaws do not describe the HRDB as an event board. I think it should be clear. I think it's a parallel to the older bylaws. But the board should be advising and providing input to city staff, providing support to implement programs, services, and policies, engaging with the community, going out into the community and speaking to the diverse communities that we have, and finding barriers to equity. The whole purpose of unity, the whole purpose of diversity and inclusion is to promote equitable outcomes for the diverse populations that we have. As a former member of the HRDB, I don't see that as happening. I think that they can and should educate, facilitate, and celebrate diversity, but I believe that they should be providing training not only for their own members, but for citizens, particularly minority business owners that are having perhaps barriers to their success, and provide forums for discussion to improve understanding and awareness in the community. That can be roundtables, working groups. One of the things that I noticed was, if you look at the history of the HRDB and the West Orange Reconciliation Task Force, that history of why the HRDB, why July Perry, why Ocoee Remembers, isn't being told in the HRDB. We don't bring in speakers to educate ourselves. We don't have panels for the public to educate and inform the public. I think that's really what the mission should be, to promote equity, equal treatment, fairness, equal resources. That's basically my opinion. It comes from serving on the HRDB. I don't think it's a major change, but I think it's an important change, I think, to modernize the board. Access is where the action happens. You can't have unity if the possibility of equitable outcomes isn't possible. That's where we need to work. You know, Ocoee Remembers, the proclamation, the apology, was a critical barrier identified by the West Orange Reconciliation Task Force. If you go to their old website, you'll see that they say that. And I think, as we've talked about in that board in 2020, started the work, culminated the work that was started years before in removing that specific identified barrier to reconciliation, to healing, to moving forward with unity. And I think a lot of the former members of that board think it's time to move forward with those new actions. So I hope that explains my comments and my proposal to the commission.
Okay, commissioners, anybody's comments?
Well, as a former member of the HRD board, I'm very proud of what was done. We addressed an issue, the unspoken events that happened over 100 years ago, and the follow-up cover-up that happened for so many years. I always say the events of 1920 were bad, but what happened 60 years later were worse because we kept quiet about it. It's like a family that has a secret that they don't want to talk about, but it was talked about, it was done, and I thank God for it. I thank God for Bill Maxwell, one of my heroes, who really took a stand, took a lot of heat. I thank God for Mayor Johnson, who took a lot of heat. People don't want to talk about it, but he took a lot of heat. but he did what he thought was right. And I respect any man or any woman who does what they thought was right. It is time for a change. The HRDB board has done that first 5 pounds. When you're trying to lose weight, the first 5 pounds are the hardest ones to lose. We've done that. We've addressed the issue. Now it's time to move forward. I do believe if we get out of the doing part and more of the planning part, I think a lot of the abuse and the issue came, we can agree what we need to do, but the big problem is how do we do it? And that's where the fights and the disagreements came in. So if we can get to the point where the city takes care of the doing part and we take care of more of the planning part. Look, I've said it before and I'll say it again. If I could take the kidney out of an African American myself and put it in a man from Indonesia, we're brothers. And we need to get to the point where we all understand we're brothers and sisters, regardless of our color, regardless of our ethnicity, regardless of our sexual orientation. We're brothers and sisters. And whether I like hot sauce on my fish and you like tater sauce, we're the same. Actually, I like more fish in my fish, to be honest with you, but that's another story. But I think it's time for that change. I think Ocoee deserves that change, and it makes us different than other cities. I always say, we can talk about our past, but boy, look at our future. And our future is bright, and I'm excited about it, I'm proud about it, and I encourage that change. Thank you.
Anybody else? Nobody else? All right, so under the proposal, do we have to have a vote on going towards that?
I think you should, if that's the direction the commission wants to do, would be a vote to direct staff, maybe to work with Mr. Kennedy to get the ideas and the concepts together for a reorganization of the board, rewrite the purpose and bylaws for that, may be the next step. Obviously, whatever staff and commissioner come up with would come back before the city commission for approval.
Can I say something? Maybe it's time that we organize the board and bring them together and let them make some decisions as to the future of the HRDB board, having the leadership and direction of what you just spoke about. Again, this is a community board. We want the community to be involved. Let them, again, come forward with the decisions where they feel the board should be going with, I mean, it's going to have a liaison from the board, from the commission. But again, I think the folks that we're going to be appointing, either new folks or folks who have already been on the board, every district has makes a decision, but letting them come forward with what they feel they want to see that board go. That would be my thought. I'm not interested in telling them. I'd like to see what they have to say and where they feel the direction of that board should be going.
I think the numbers are going to stay the same as the people on the board.
Right, but I mean, I have 2 applicants that have come forward in District 2.
Yeah.
Okay. Making a decision to appoint one of them, whether they are someone that was on the board before or someone new, but I'm thinking letting this new board come forward back to us with maybe what they want to do under direction. You have some ideas. That's.
Yeah, if I can respond to that, I like that idea for the self direction, but I think my experience is, part of the problem with the HRDB was a lack of clear direction from the commission. The bylaws don't say that's an event board, and somehow it became just an event board. Events are good, as I said, they're part of celebrating diversity. But I'd like to see very clear direction from the commission. You mentioned the liaison. I don't know, I'd like to see a mentor. I recommend former Chair Maxwell to help organize some of these thoughts. I know that would be helpful. And I don't know if, I'm willing to be the liaison to the board, but I was thinking it might be a good idea if Commissioner Hart started out as the liaison to that board, at least through the end of his interim term. I think he would have great input to the organization of that board, as you said. And I am prepared to name members to the board. I have a member that I'm prepared to name. And I think perhaps with the leadership of Commissioner Hart and Mr. Maxwell, they could pull that off, yeah.
I knew who I'm going to appoint.
Well, what I would say is let's go ahead, if we have our names, we can do that tonight. No? I will tell you up front, I talked to Bill Maxwell about being my appointee, so.
Okay.
So anybody, who's got your appointees?
Mr. Mayor,
I have a name.
Okay,
I haven't gotten any yet, but what I would like to do also, we need to explain the role of the liaison. So if someone goes beyond that role, and maybe another board, that the members know what to do.
Yeah.
Because when someone oversteps their bounds, the members don't know. So we don't know what to do. And you take it as gospel, the liaison is supposed to assist, not direct. And sometimes those things happen. So if we give the members a clear definition, and they can know, well, I'll go to Rob or I go to Mayor Johnson when something seems amiss. So I think in the future, we need maybe have a seminar, or maybe somebody with a lot of experience, like Commissioner Wilson, don't mean to put you on the spot, could explain what a liaison is supposed to do and not do.
Amen.
all right, so you got your name?
I haven't got any names.
No, how about,
Yes, I do. I'd like to appoint Mr. John Cease.
okay.
I believe you have his application, Melanie?
Yeah, we have about 10 applications
Do you have the
on
one
file,
these days?
so I believe I would have to go through them. If there's anyone that you're recommending this evening, if they haven't filled out an application, just have them submit one. But I know Rosemary, we have applications for, we have 2.
Who?
I believe you have Mr. Cease's.
I believe I have his as
Yeah.
well.
Michelle Cummings?
All right, so we've named, only one missing is,
I believe Commissioner Kennedy also provided a name, an applicant,
Vinnie Singh.
who?
Vinnie Singh.
I can't hear.
Vinnie
Vinnie Singh.
Singh.
Vinnie Singh,
Yeah.
pardon me.
All right, and I got Mr. Maxwell.
But there's,
Then we come back, we end up with 2 more, so think about that to the next meeting. So we're going to have to vote on 2 more. Let's
Okay.
put 2 more names in.
were we putting someone from, were we directing, it wasn't church, it was whoever,
No, I think the church is a separate, I was going to ask tonight about the church being appointed as the high point. I asked the preacher about being involved.
what, it's one per each of us,
Right.
plus 2,
At large.
2 at large.
We
One of
all-
them could be the.
We
would
got,
be-
that's,
Would be the
we haven't
church?
said that.
No?
No.
No, that's
Said that.
non-voting.
No.
That was
The non-voting was the,
Yeah.
okay.
So think about the other 2, and I'll put the names in, and then we'll vote on those 2 at the next meeting, the 16th,
The other 2 can come from any district.
anywhere.
Right.
Anywhere. All right?
Perfect.
And then you need to come up with we get those 2, then we can start the process.
So are we doing a motion to appoint Maxwell, Cease, Cummings, and Singh tonight?
Tell you.
Yeah, and you can come up with a name. All right. All right. So is there a motion to do those?
Yes, I'll make a motion to rename the HRDB, the Idea Advisory Board, and to appoint those named members, and to begin work with staff on the bylaws and the new mission statement.
I'm not interested in renaming the board. I'm interested in appointing, I'm just not interested in renaming the board. I don't think that's a decision we should be making right now. We're just putting folks on the board. I mean, I think that's something that,
Okay,
The
well then
board should
I'll
decide.
start
So
with
that's
them,
my- I
I'll
will
start
second
with
that
a
motion.
motion to appoint those 3 members to a board.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Commissioner Kennedy, seconded by Commissioner Wilson about appointing the 4 names to the board, and with 1 coming from Commissioner Hart. And then we'll have, okay? That's a motion made and seconded. Any more comments? Let's vote. Motion carries unanimously. All right, remember, 2 names, everybody come up with 2 more names. We want to, or 1, whatever you want to do, we have to come up with 2 more names.
Were you doing your second motion?
Yes, I'll also make a motion, if I may, to rename the board the Idea Advisory Board and modernize its stated purpose, mission, and bylaws.
What do you want to name it?
Idea, and so it's beyond diversity is just diversity. It's inclusion, diversity, equity, and access. It's a common name. It's what cities and boards are doing now. It's the modern version, updated version of that concept.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Kennedy. Did you hear a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Kirschner. Any more comments?
Yes. We were very hard over the years to have the HRDV board called the HRDV board. And I don't think that's a situation that we should be changing. We're just putting in a new group or restructured the board. And I don't think it's time for us to change the name when we have not even given these folks an opportunity to speak what their concern is or what they want to change. We seem to be dictating this change instead of allowing this new board to make the decision. So I will be voting no to that. It's not that I'm against the name. I think we should be giving the board the opportunity to, if they want to change the name, I think Bill Maxwell probably will, I can't say what he would say, but he worked very hard from the reconciliation board to organizing the HRDV board to changing its name.
All right, anybody else? All right, let's vote. Motion fails, 3-2. All righty. You can also let the board come up with a decision and work on that when they're working on that.
Let them meet first.
Yeah. All right. All righty. Where are we at now?
Number
That's
9.
Number 8, approval of commission liaisons to various boards.
For item 8, this item was actually continued from our last meeting. So liaisons are appointed annually to the various boards. Before you is a list of the boards that we specified whether or not a liaison is required by the organization, city code, or the board's bylaws. Staff is just requesting the city commission appoint liaisons as they deem appropriate. So you'll notice on the list, there were some that were required by another organization. So we need those appointments. And then there were some advisory boards that were not required by code or bylaws that were just saying it's up to the commission to deem if it's appropriate to appoint a liaison or not.
All right. Who wants to do what?
I'll speak.
You want to be on the recreation board?
I want to be on the I want to continue on the Park and Recreation Board, and I am also a board member of the Tri-County League of Cities, so I wish to stay there.
Anybody want to make a motion for Commissioner Wilson to be, or is that consensus?
In past practice, we did go down the list. I don't know if you want to go
All
down
right,
the
let's
list.
go down the list, write them down.
So we have Parks and Recreation Board, Commissioner Wilson. We have the Citizens Advisory Council for the Police Department.
Is that going to be Commissioner,
Whoever wants it.
is that you, Kennedy?
I'm sorry?
Police
Which
Department?
board do you want?
Yes, I'd love to do the police department board.
Commissioner Kennedy wants to be on the police board.
Citizens Advisory Council for the Fire Department.
Mr. Firstner?
Yeah, I would like to stay on that.
Commissioner Firstner.
The Human Relations Diversity Board.
Commissioner Hart?
Yes, sir.
Just put him on.
Commissioner Hart. What's the,
Personnel
Personnel Board, I'll
Board.
stay on that one. The Tri-County League is Commissioner Wilson. The West Orange Airport Authority, is that group still together, Rob?
Well, I believe it's still an entity. I don't know that they've had a meeting in a couple of
We need
years.
a name?
We probably should have a name in case they call a meeting.
Put my name on it. Put my name on it. I don't think they ever have a meeting. I'll take that.
Is that why?
If they gotta have a meeting. West Orange Chamber of Commerce, City Manager,
I would like to stay on that.
all right. And then Education Board, I'll take that. And then what is the other one? Metro RN, is that you, Commissioner Firstner?
Yes, I've been on it for a number of years now. If somebody else would like to get involved with that, that would be fine with me.
We're all looking down at the next person next to you.
If everybody's shaking their head no, I'll stay on it.
You think you'd stay on it?
I'll stay
All
on
right,
it.
Commissioner Firstner, stay on that.
There is sometimes, some of these boards meet during the day,
Yeah,
which
he's-
sometimes is very difficult if you're working.
All right.
I will just say that, some,
So do we need to vote on those or just? All right,
I think historically we've voted on the entire slate, Mayor.
huh?
I think we've voted on the entire slate before as provided.
All right, you need to read them
Yeah,
all?
so it's Park and Rec, Commissioner Wilson, Tri-County League of Cities, Commissioner Wilson, Citizens Advisory Council for Police, Commissioner Kennedy, Citizens Advisory Council for the Fire Department, Commissioner Ferschner, HRDB Board, Commissioner Hart, Personnel Board, Mayor Johnson, West Orange Airport Authority, Mayor Johnson, West Orange Chamber of Commerce, Rob Frank, Education, Mayor Johnson, and is it Metro, what is Metroplex, Metroplan?
Metro
It's
Plan
Metro,
Orlando
yeah.
Municipal
Metro
Advisory
Plan,
Committee.
Commissioner Ferschner.
I'll make that motion.
I need a motion. You make the motion, Commissioner Wilson. Do I hear a second?
I have a suggestion too, since Commissioner Ferschner, if you can't make it, if you wanted to make me an alternate for that, and if you can't make it downtown, then at least if you provide a name for an alternate, if I show up, perhaps they'll let me vote on something if we need to represent the city's interest.
Okay.
Adding Rob Frank as the alternate to the Metro Plan.
Yeah. All right. Motion made by Commissioner Wilson. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Hart. No more comments? Let's vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay.
All right, we're down to number 9, appointment of a charter review commission in accordance with the City of Ocoee Charter, Article 10, Section C 59.
Good evening. At the last meeting on April 18th, the City Commission had voted unanimously to proceed with establishing the Charter Review Commission. I am recommending the City Commission provide applications from interested residents to me, because I don't have any, I think I have one name, by Friday, May 12th, so we can place the appointment of the board members on the next agenda. Additionally, we need to direct city staff to provide the credentials for any qualified individuals to select as a Charter Review Commission facilitator for consideration and approval at the same meeting.
So you have to have the name by the 12th.
Is that, what does the board consist of? 5 members?
So
or?
it's 5 members, and the mayor shall also appoint 2 alternate members.
That means I got to do 3.
You gotta do 3.
Okay.
All
right.
Are we accepting board applications for those? Is that where someone submits the board, or do we just name
They have to
someone?
fill out an application.
Do they fill an application?
If you provide us with a name and contact, we can send them an application. But we do like to have the application on file. It just provides contact information for our board list.
So folks are interested, they should be contacting, if they're in our districts, they should be contacting us?
Correct. If they can contact you, and then you can forward that information on to us, we can reach out to them. You can always have them go on the website. Our application is on the website, and send it to us. But at least make us aware of who your applicant selection is so that we know to look for their application. As far as the, I don't know if there's any direction you want to give the city staff on the facilitator. I know the last time it was just someone with municipal elections experience.
All right, so the 12th, everybody has to have their names in. Then on the 16th, we can vote for those names.
I think she's also looking for Melanie, you're looking for direction as to a facilitator?
If there's anything you want to share this evening, because we will be presenting both at the May 16th meeting.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I have my name in for District 1, but the qualification of an individual with municipal elections for the charter review, I think is probably.
Yeah, I think the discussion was,
That's scrambled.
yeah,
We
it
want,
was charter.
An individual with charter review.
Right.
Yeah, charter review.
But other than that.
Yeah. So have the names in by the 12th, then we vote on them on the 16th. All right. Okay. Move on to number 10, discussion and direction with special election, City Manager Frank.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. The April 18th City Commission meeting, City Commission directed me to enlist the services of a board-certified municipal attorney to review the city charter and offer an independent opinion on when an election needs to be called to fill the District 4 Commission seat. So I reached out to Rick Geller, who's here this evening. He's a board-certified municipal attorney with the firm of Fishback and Dominic in Winter Park, where he's been for the last 13 years. Mr. Geller reviewed the charter, provided his analysis of the election issue in a letter that's been included with the agenda item this evening. He also has a presentation to share with you and the public, and he will be available after that to answer any questions or concerns that you have. So at this point, I would turn it over to Mr. Geller.
This mic here? Thank you. All right. Good evening. I've not met any of you before, but Mr. Frank reached out and asked if I would provide the commission with an independent analysis of the question of whether the District 4 election could be postponed from June 13, 2023, coming up, until March 19th of 2024, which happens to be Orange County Municipal Elections Day. How do I do just one down? There we go. The board on March 21st, 2023, voted unanimously to have a special election for the District 4 seat on June 13th. But since that time, there have been some subsequent developments. First, the board appointed Commissioner Hart to his interim seat, which he will hold until the successor is elected pursuant to Section C-17 of the city charter. Since that time, the supervisor of elections has made known that he is encouraging municipalities to schedule any pending elections for Orange County Municipal Election Day on March 19, 2024. He made that known to the city clerk, and then independently, I spoke to him, and he reiterated his encouragement, stating that there are certain efficiencies for his office to handle municipal elections on that day. I would state as a note here, which will be more important as I get further into the discussion, that an election on March 19, 2024 is within 1 year of the vacancy on the District 4 seat. It so turns out that the city will be having an election anyway on March 19, 2024. It would be for the presidential preference primaries, which will be on that day. As an inducement, the supervisor of elections has stated that if the election will be held on March 19, 2024, that his office will pay for printing ballots, for renting polling locations, and also for hiring and paying poll workers for the city's precincts. And then finally, we do have a cost estimate if the commission were to decide to proceed with the special election on June 13th, and that would be about $10,000. Also, I could put also in the category of subsequent developments is the establishment of the Charter Review Commission, which was voted upon unanimously at the last meeting and acted upon or discussed further this evening. And so under Section C-61 of the city charter, the referendum on charter amendments must take place at the next municipal election. And so the Charter Review Commission makes a final report to this commission in ordinance form. It's adopted verbatim, and it's then placed on the ballot at the next municipal election, which would be March 19, 2024. Now, turning back to the question of when vacancies must be filled when a commission seat becomes vacant, the successor to the office of commissioner shall be elected at the next general city election if such election is to be held within 12 months of the vacancy. So if the election on March 19, 2024 is a general city election, the successor shall be elected at that election. Right? This here is the resignation letter from the former commissioner, and it was effective on the date that the new mayor is sworn into office, and that resignation effective date was March 21st, 2023. Right? So the question then is, would the election on March 19, 2024 be a general city election? And who judges that? It's actually not for me to judge or the city attorney or anyone other than the commission. The commission is the judge of the election and qualifications of its members. And I would state that that decision could be subject to judicial review, which I'll discuss in a bit. There's also a question of whether the charter amendments, which would be considered in March 2024, would that be a special election? And the answer is no. That's because the charter has 3 categories of special elections. The first is if everyone on the ballot dies, you need to have a special election after requalification of candidates. C-17 is what we've been discussing, if you could have a special election for a vacancy on the commission if there is no general city election within 12 months. Then the third instance under the charter of a special election is when there is a petition for an ordinance, petitioned by 10% of the eligible registered voters, in which case the commission can either pass the ordinance or call a special election to be held within 90 days. So those are the 3 categories. The referendum on proposed charter amendments does not fall in any of those categories and would not be a special election, nor would it be a regular election. Now, a regular election is defined by the city charter in section C-45, which refers to municipal elections held annually on odd number years. And so the next regular election will be in 2025. The election in March 2024 would not be a regular election, nor would it be a special election. And so, whittling down the possibilities, it would be a general municipal election or general city election, same thing. And I would suggest to you that you can reasonably determine, as the judge of elections, that an election to decide both the District 4 seat and proposed charter amendments on March 19, 2024 would be a general city election. I mentioned before that your determination could be subject to judicial review, and I want to inform you what that review could look like. First off, this is a decision from the 3rd District Court of Appeal, and it applies to a board of county commissioners, but it could just as easily apply to a board of city commissioners. It says the board of county commissioners, in their discretion as a legislative body of the county, may set such election which may not be interfered with by the courts without a showing of fraud, corruption, or gross abuse of discretion. And here's another rule to keep in mind, that when a court is reviewing a legislative determination, such as your setting of an election, that there are accepted rules. And this is a famous Florida Supreme Court case which lays it out, how courts view your legislative determinations. The court, first, will not substitute its judgment for that of the city council. An ordinance is presumed valid. And thirdly, the legislative intent will be sustained if fairly debatable. So even if there is an argument not to hold the election in March of 2024, so long as it is a debatable matter, that there is a position that could be taken that it should be held that date, then the court would uphold your determination. And so If for any reason anyone disagrees with that analysis up to now, you could deem the election of the District 4 seat a special election to be held in March of 2024. And so going back to section C17 of the charter, and it says, if a general city election, and I believe that is a general city election that we're referring to, but if it is not to be held within 12 months, the successor shall be elected at a special election, which shall be called by the city commission within 90 days of the vacancy. There is a question as to whether the special election must be held within 90 days of the vacancy. Under my analysis, under my reading of the charter, it does not have to be held within 90 days. This is a decision from the Florida Supreme Court. It's still good law, even though it's an old case. But it stands for the proposition that calling an election is not the same thing as holding an election. Calling an election means announcing the election. So the Supreme Court said one of the things necessary to be done to accomplish the registration of voters and the conducting and holding of an election is the calling of an election. So the election is called first, then it is subsequently held. And in our own charter, you could see a difference in language as to when a special election must be held within 90 days. The top charter section C19, that pertains again to a petition for an ordinance signed by 10% of qualified registered voters. And look at the language there. Within 6 weeks of filing such petition, the city commission may pass said ordinance or shall call a special election to be held within 90 days. But if you go down below to section C17, this is the provision pertaining to a vacancy on the commission. If a general city election will not be held within 12 months, the successor shall be elected at a special election which shall be called by the city commission within 90 days of the vacancy. You'll notice what language is missing from C17. C17 does not say to be held, which it does say just 2 sections later. And so there appears to be clear intent in the charter that, yes, you have to call the election within the 90 days, you have to announce it, but it does not have to be held within the 90 days. So there is no requirement to actually hold a special election on June 13th. It can be called for a later time at your discretion. I would suggest that it is clear to me when reading the charter that the outermost limit of an election, of a special election to elect the successor, is within a year. That's very clear to me. Either whether it's a general city election or a special election, it must be held within a year. And so it is, again, your determination how you would like to proceed, if you would want to postpone the District 4 election or not. If you do determine that you do want to postpone it, here are my recommendations. First, time is of the essence. Tomorrow, ballots must be printed, and the city will incur that expense. Ballots must then be sent overseas. There are things that staff must do in a short period of time. And so we cannot wait 2 more meetings for an ordinance to be passed to give direction to staff. So my recommendation is first to pass a resolution, and the resolution that I suggested, it was in the agenda packet. The resolution would, 1, rescind the call and scheduling of the June 13th, 2023 special election. It would call and schedule a general city election on Orange County Municipal Election Day, March 19, 2024, for the District 4 election, to serve as a referendum on proposed amendments to the Ocoee City Charter, and any other matters requiring a municipal election. And thirdly, and this is especially appropriate for a resolution, it would direct the city clerk and city staff to undertake all administrative actions internally and with the Orange County Supervisor of Elections that may be necessary to cancel the special election scheduled for June 13, 2023, and to instead hold a general city election on March 19, 2024. Now, I mentioned before that this sort of determination by a city council will be upheld by courts because it is a legislative determination. And so to make it unmistakably clear that this is a legislative determination, my recommendation is to readopt all this as an ordinance so that there is absolutely no question that this is the legislative determination of this city commission to be upheld by the courts. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and I appreciate your careful attention to a very complex analysis. So thank you.
Commissioners? Anybody want to start?
I'll go ahead and start. Sir, thank you for your detailed analysis. I really appreciate it. Since I'm now the person sitting in that seat, is it proper for me to vote on this issue?
Well, I spoke with City Attorney Cookson this afternoon. We both agree that you must vote on this. This there will be some public gain to you because you would be able to stay in the seat for longer, but there would not be a special private gain to you, and it's clear from the Commission on Ethics opinions that I looked at.
Thank you. I just wanted to put that on record to make sure everyone's aware of that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Oh, I'm sorry. Anybody else? Go ahead.
I have a few questions. The first question, just to clarify, the resolution that was drafted that was in the packet, you said, I just want to make sure, that was your idea to go ahead and draft that resolution and include it in the packet?
Yes, it was. I drafted it. I spoke with Mr. Frank, and I, realizing the short time that remained before the June 13th election and everything that has to happen, I recommended to him that a resolution be presented for your consideration. That was my idea, yes.
Thank you, because I've been asked about that, and just to clarify your other comment, you haven't met or spoken with any commissioners on this topic or any other?
No, in fact, I don't know any of you. I think I spoke with Mayor Johnson about 15 years ago. He probably doesn't even remember.
Fair enough.
I don't.
Fair enough.
So no, I've not spoken with any of you.
At the beginning of your presentation, could you go back to the first slide where it said the question was, can the Ocoee City Commission lawfully postpone the District 4 election? I understand your analysis, but what I'm looking at is if I go to section C17, and it states plainly, it says, the successor to the office of mayor or commissioner shall be elected at the next general city election. It doesn't give us discretion. I don't read it. It doesn't say may, might, the commission decides. It says if there is a general city election within 12 months, that's where it will be.
Yes, the word shall is mandatory.
Is it part of your analysis, although I didn't hear, that it was an error on behalf of the commission to call for the special election? Was that a misreading of the charter?
No, well, at the time, there was no general city election. There was no error. There was no determination at that time that you were going to have a charter review commission, charter review board, excuse me, look at this. So at the time, it made sense to schedule a special election. That's okay. All you had in front of you at the time.
So as you said, subsequent events have determined that the March 19th, 2024 election is a general city election?
Yes, that's my interpretation.
Okay. The second thing I wanted to ask you, or the third thing, you talked about the intent of Section C17 and called the intent for the election to be within a year. Yes. Can you tell me, did you investigate or look at prior changes to the charter? Do you know the history of that section of the charter? Do you know if it was changed in prior charter review boards or anything that would show that intent?
Well, I don't know anywhere as much about this as you all probably know, but my understanding from speaking with the city manager is that it was changed, the language was changed from 6 months to a year. And so you can correct me if I'm wrong about that. And you could draw certain conclusions from that.
So the conclusion is it was changed from 6 months to a year because the intent was a year.
The intent was a year, and there would be probably a greater likelihood to capture any general city election that may occur within a year. It's probably less likely to occur if the deadline is within 6 months, would be my supposition.
Okay, thank you. That answers my questions.
Mr. Wilson.
Thank you. I think you asked some of the questions that were floating around for me. I have been spending a lot of time this weekend reading a lot of this material. Yes, no, I've never met you before. I'll clarify that right now. We never had a conversation. But the word call has plagued me for a while because my interpretation of call is we're going to announce it. Holding is another word. And probably I remember when the charter got changed from 6 months to a year. But I also believe that we as a commission have to abide by our charter. And calling where it does not say holding. And being someone who's a little more, should I say, I'm $10,000 is $10,000. And holding an election for $10,000, I have many other uses I'd like to use $10,000 for, even though I know excuse me, Rob, what's our budget? 51, general is 5165. I know 10,000 is a very small figure, but in my world, 10,000 is a lot. And I'm tending, unless I hear some discussion from anyone who gets up, the word call and hold are two different words.
The Florida Supreme Court agrees with you.
So I'm going to, if I have any more comments, I'll wait. I don't know if there's folks that are going to be getting up, but I'm interested in hearing the dialogue.
Commissioner Fershner.
Your presentation was very clear, and I understand it, and I appreciate it. All I want to know is it your opinion that the proper way for us to proceed is to go to the next general city election from this point? Would that be a prudent decision?
It would be prudent because it says shall be elected at the next general city election. So if that March election on the charter amendments is a general city election, then you don't have a choice under the clear language in the charter.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Hart.
Oh, yes, sir. And I once again, thank you for your input. I just want to go on record as saying, when I applied for this position, I did anticipate it to be 2 months. I do understand, and my selling point was when the supervisor of elections encouraged everyone to wait till the next election in March. But I do empathize and sympathize with those who were looking forward to running. I know some people didn't apply for the job because it was only 2 months, and now that it's a year, they might have applied. I do empathize and sympathize with them. But I think we have to do what's in the best interest of the city. And I will do all I can and to fulfill those obligations until that next election. But thank you for your time, sir.
We don't have time a second time no more. Right, but if you were going to let him speak, speak now. All right.
Can I go back and ask one more question?
Go ahead.
If you could, go back and explore what you said of if someone argued that March 19, 2024 isn't the next general city election.
Right.
The commission can call for a special election, and the commission can call for that special election to be March 19, 2024 as well. Is that?
You can. That would be at about the outermost limit of your discretion.
That's the only discretion, is when to call that special election sometime during 12 months.
Yes, I believe, in my reading of the charter, it must be held within a year, that if you were to exceed that time, then that would be an abuse of your discretion.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to, being we didn't discuss this when I had these earlier in public comments, I'm going to go ahead and open the public comment for the speakers. First ones will be Timothy Ayers. You have 3 minutes. 3 minutes is the time on the limit.
Mr. Mayor, is it first mic? Is it first? Thank you.
Public, right there, yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I'm a citizen of Ocoee, happen to be a former elected official, served in the same capacity that many of you are serving tonight, and I appreciate your dedication to public office and public service. Mr. Mayor, if I could ask your legal attorney one question prior to proceeding. Now, that's dangerous to yield to an attorney, but if I could, if he could go back to the first slide on his presentation.
Remember now, it's 3 minutes.
I understand. I'm going to be brief.
Okay.
I didn't even give him 3 minutes when I was mayor. So your question that you raised to the body was, can the Ocoee City Commission lawfully postpone the District 4 election to Orange County Municipal Election Day? My question would be, can the Ocoee City Commission, shall they postpone or could they postpone? Which is a different question. And the reason I raise that is because at their previous meeting, at a past meeting, they agreed, called, and in my judgment, announced that they were going to hold an election 90 days after the prior election. That's why I think there's a lack of trust in government. Now, whether that was your intent or not, that's how you voted. And because you voted that way, I think the citizens of District 4, in which I reside, by the way, my address is 1291 Plumgrass Circle, in which I reside, are the most injurious party to this question. In other words, and I say this with all due respect to Commissioner Hart, who represents District 4, and he represents me, is we won't have the opportunity to judge who our elected commissioner is for either 90 days or the March date or 12 months conceivably. And I will just sit down upon that and ask the attorney to respond to the first question I raised to you.
I don't, respectfully, I just don't see a huge difference between could or can. Can you lawfully do this? Or could you lawfully do it? I don't know that there's I'm not seeing the difference, frankly.
I appreciate that. My point is, a monkey can jump through fire. Should they? No.
Yeah,
but they can.
Respectfully, it's not my determination.
I understand.
I'm just giving you a legal analysis, and the decision is clearly up to the commission.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, members of the commission.
Thanks, sir. Chris Atkins.
Congratulations, Mr. Kennedy and Mr. Fershner and Mr. Johnson first on your election victories. We can play semantics with words all we want, but there becomes a point where something's right or it's wrong. We could say could or can, but you did. Mr. Johnson, Ms. Wilson, Mr. Fershner, you've already voted. You voted in this room to have an election in June. I think that it is doing not only the District 4 constituents a disservice for changing your vote that was just a few weeks ago, but it's doing our city a disservice too. Because in the media, we look like, yet again, we're just changing and winging things, okay? Not only do the constituents of District 4 deserve an elected leader, and Mr. Hart, I do value you. I valued your wife when she ran for commissioner for District 4, and when she led on the Human Rights Diversity Board, which I'm sorry for the way that went, ma'am. That's not a good representation of what we should be as a city, okay? So I do value Mr. Hart in his position for the time that he's been given. But we should stick to the things that we say. We should stick to the things that we tell our taxpayers. The changing of things all the time, it sows a really bad seed. It makes us feel like we can't trust you, like there's some kind of odd side angle to what you're doing. And I'm not even saying that there is, but it surely presents itself that way. You literally just had a vote. It would be doing Nate Robinson a disservice. It would be doing Mr. Oliver a disservice, whom I 100% disagree with vacating his position. I've told him that personally. But the facts are the facts. The commission has already voted. It's to my understanding to the attorney, not Mr. Cookson, the petition gentleman, that we would have to rescind what we've already done to accomplish what we want to do. And that in itself is wrong. It boils back to wrong and right. None of us are always wrong. None of us are always right. But your vote should stand. I want to speak a little bit about the charter. And if we're going to add that to make it a general election, it could also be put on 2025, because the last time we did a charter, we did it in about 9 months, and how did it turn out? It turned out a mess. I tried to find who sat on that board. I tried to find the minutes for that board. I can't find any of it. I've let my commissioner know that I would love to sit on that board. I'm letting everybody on the diocese know, and I will file an application out to sit on that board. And I think we should take our time to 2025 and get our charter finally right, because clearly we didn't do a good job when we tried to do it in 9 months last time. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Vivian Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, commissioners and fellow citizens. I am a member of, a citizen of Ocoee, and District 4 is my district. And thank you, Mr. Atkins, because you raised the question I was going to ask. Because I went away on vacation for a month and came back, and it's like, what? Huh? So my question was, when did we decide we were going to do this referendum on the charter? When was that decision made? How was that discussed? When I left here, I don't remember, and you know, I've been in a lot of meetings, I don't remember that ever coming up. So is that what made this a general election? And I fully agree that if that's the case, then my trust level goes down another little notch as well. I left thinking that I was coming back to a special election when I left on vacation. I don't know if I would have wanted to apply for that position, but I'm not understanding. I understand what you're saying, the legalities and all that, but it seems a little contrived that we made this a legality. So, and I get the $10,000, but that's what we pay our taxes for, to get things done that we need to get done. And all of us have special situations in our homes that come up that we take care of. We just do. So I'm really upset that I'm not going to get to vote on my commissioner, having nothing to do with the gentleman there. I don't know him. I'm just feeling like I need to be able to vote. I shouldn't have to wait until March to determine who's going to represent me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Larry Brinson.
Am I at the right one? Is this right? That's funny, huh? For those who don't know, I've said this many a times, and that is, I think the number one responsibility of electeds is to protect the public. We protect the public from those in the public. We protect the public from the criminals. We protect the public from themselves. But also our responsibility is to protect the public from elected officials. And this is one of those cases where we must protect the public from elected officials. Even though we may be able to legally move this election, the question is why? Why are we moving this election? I'll wait. See, there's no good reason to move this election. The charter says that we could hold it, call it in 90 days. So why not hold it and call it in 90 days? Why are we moving this election? And then on top of that, we can say this is a general city election that's going to be in March of 2024, but that's not our city election. We have off-cycle elections for a reason. We are nonpartisan here. That is not a nonpartisan election there. If that's the case, every time a municipality that's in the state of Florida has an election, theoretically, we can actually go there and have an election there and have our election the same time they have. Why are we holding this election next year? Why is the commission hell-bent on disobeying our charter, even if the charter reads holding, hold, call, calling? It has been my contention, and every member of the commission since I was on the commission, that believed that a special election was a special election. That March 19th election is not a special election. That's a general election. But we need to fill that seat now. Why should we have to wait almost a year, literally 363 days, to put someone in that seat for the term of that, the remainder of that term, or for however long they're going to be there? Why can't we do it now? Why wait for a year to pass? There's no reason. I don't understand. I've got my mind wrapped around it. I've talked to the state. I've talked to attorneys, and attorneys say, well, yes, you can do it, but should we do it? And the answer has to be no, because we have mechanisms in place, and it's not about $10,000. We sneeze and blow $10,000. We sneeze. That is what we call in finance fiscal dust. That is nothing compared to our budget. And we talking about the charter. The charter is the constitution of our city. That's the guidelines in which we must follow. And many a times we've had arguments and discussions about the charter when I sat on the dais. Now we're saying, you know what? We're going to go outside counsel and going to say, we're going to find someone who can literally say what we want. I'm just asking, I know what we're trying to do. My question is, why?
Thanks, sir. Mr. Tilton.
Commissioners, hello. I started Ocoee Votes in the 2021 election with the purpose of inspiring and increasing engagement, visibility, and transparency in our election process. And during this time, I've had the opportunity to interview each of you, except one, Mr. Edges Hart. Kennedy, Commissioner Kennedy, our interview and our time we had together was inspirational to me. I left our Zoom call inspired to be better and to do better as a business executive. I admire your composure and your methodical nature in approaching policy and decisions. Rosemary Wilson, Commissioner Wilson, I value your integrity and I appreciate your commitment and service to this city. Rusty Johnson, Mayor, you are the centerpiece of this city. You've served us for so many years, and I appreciate your service. Thank you. Richard Firstner, you served this city before. You were commissioner as a fire chief, right? And now as a commissioner in your second or third term? Second term? Third. I appreciate your service. Thank you. The question isn't, could we? I think the question is, should we change the election? And the primary premise presented has been money, $10,000. And I believe that actions speak louder than words, and that the people of District 4 have the right to choose. If they think $10,000 is a waste, they can hold Mr. Oliver accountable for his choice on his time to resign. But I think, as I train my children one of the things I teach them and say to them is who you're being is so loud, nobody can hear what you're saying. I believe that to bring in outside legal counsel when we disagree with our in-house counsel says a lot. And the timing of our current city attorney's resignation speaks more loudly than any words anyone can say. And I think here you will say or place a value on the voices of the voters of District 4. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
The Patty Leroy.
What have you done to me? Holding you. Mayor, Commissioners, thank you for this time. My name is Patty Leroy. I'm the president of the Women's Club of Ocoee. For over 30 years, we have hosted and facilitated the political forum, and I think quite successfully. I thought the last one was probably most successful. And we would try and figure out when this one's going to be, if we would like it on the record, if we could use City Hall, if we could have it filmed, if we could have it broadcast, whether you do it in June or whether it's done in March, we will be acceptable to coordinating if it's up to the commission to allow us to do that. That I'm still kind of out here, not sure where we are. So if you just let me know, give me a call, and we will be happy to abide by whatever rules you put.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for waiting. All right. Gonna bring it back to the dais. All right. Oh, I forgot. I think I did. I do have, hold on. Come on up. Yeah, here it is. It flipped up with two of them. Mr. Dworkin, come on up.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you, everybody. My name is Noreen Dworkin. I'm the editor-in-chief of Vox Populi. We cover government, politics, and social justice issues. My understanding of what was decided at the April 18th meeting was that the outside counsel, Mr. Geller, would be tapped to render an opinion on the interpretation of the charter in terms of whether the special election could be held. So my first question would be, was Mr. Geller instructed to evaluate the charter as to when the special election could be held, or was he specifically told to determine whether the charter supported postponing the election until the presidential primary? Direct it to the commission, or I'll direct it to Mr. Geller. Because my question would be...
We didn't talk to him.
Oh. Well, the reason that I asked her is because I looked at the letter, and it said, proposal to postpone the election. And the way I understood it as it was left is Mr. Geller was supposed to be given instructions to evaluate what the charter said about how the special election could be held. But when I saw the subhead, proposal to postpone election, that says to me that he was possibly given orders to find a reason to postpone the election. So I'm wondering if that is the case. Sir?
Yes, if I could respond to that.
Yes, please.
I was given no direction how my analysis would go. I was not told to reach any conclusion. I was simply tasked with examining the charter and determining could this board lawfully postpone the election. Exactly what I put up there. And that's all I did. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone or help anyone. It was simply a legal analysis. That is purely all that I did.
All right.
One more question before my time runs out. Is there any legal argument to be made for holding the special election on the original date that was originally voted on June 13th? Mr. Geller.
Well, the difficulty with that now is that this board has, that this commission has now appointed a charter review board, which, if it is coming back with proposed amendments to the charter, then there will be a next general election, and there is mandatory language in the charter about when you hold the election for a vacancy on the commission. So that's the wrinkle that happened.
All right.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. All right, now, go back to the commission. Any more discussion?
I have another question for the attorney.
Yes, sir.
My interest, I probably shouldn't say this, but I have no interest in the $10,000, and that's not a motivation for me at all. I agree, that's not a good enough reason. Maybe it's a good reason, but for me, it's not a compelling reason. But I do want to drill down specifically on the comment you just made and some of the public comments. You just said that the March 19th, 2024 election is a general city election and that this commission voted to put charter amendments on it.
Voted to appoint a charter review board, which will then propose charter amendments to you to be placed on the ballot for a referendum.
Thank you for better wording. In your legal analysis, you say Orange County Supervisor of Elections Bill Cowles has designated March 19, 2024 as Orange County Municipal Elections Day.
Correct.
May I ask, which is it? Is it a general city election because the Supervisor of Elections has designated it as such? Or is it a general city election because of the action of the commission to possibly place charter amendments on it? Or is it both? Can you prioritize those?
Well, I would prioritize the fact that the charter amendments would be brought before the electors in a referendum. That would be the principal concern that I would have, regardless whatever Bill Cowles calls the day when all the cities have their municipal elections.
And that's because Section C61 clearly says that makes it a municipal election.
For charter amendments, they are to be determined at the next municipal election, correct? And it's interchangeable whether you say it's a municipal election or a city election.
Okay, and I've heard that many times. People have said that. I've read it on social media. The term municipal election and city election are largely synonymous.
They are.
Thank you. That's my question.
Okay.
All right, anybody else, comments?
You don't sit down so fast. Come on back. Sorry, give you a little exercise here.
Yes, Commissioner.
Let me see how I'm going to state this. Technically, it looks, and I'm going back and forth on this right now, but technically, we called and we stated in a previous meeting about this election. How does that affect when we've already done that now to come back and look at what the charter actually says? I'm waffling here because I recall us setting the election and then now coming back with a different opinion of the charter, which I felt was relevant in the very beginning, about calling or holding. But in that we've already made a vote, I'm just concerned about that.
Okay, well, I'm not sure I have have a clear question to respond from a
Maybe I don't
legal
have a clear
standpoint.
question either, but maybe my question.
But I understand you're wrestling with
Yeah, I
what to
am.
do, and that's very clear. And that is, you are the judge of elections, and judges frequently wrestle with decisions. So I appreciate that.
Because we've made a vote, and now we're coming back. That is what I'm wrestling with.
I understand.
Commissioners? Commissioner Fershner?
Well, the commission has determined that we need a charter review very bad and revision. And if that's the case, that's going to serve the entire city in order to do that. And if that's the case, we need to hold a referendum on those charter review amendments, and that will be done on March 19th, 2024. We're within our rights to postpone any kind of special election before then and have it on March 19th as well. We're within the timeframes and within our boundaries. I think it would not be prudent to have a special election and then once again have a general election or a city election several months later. I think it's just logical to postpone, rescind the June 19th election and postpone that and have both the election for District 4 Commission as well as the revisions to the charter and the referendum held on March 19th, 2024.
Thank you. Commissioner Hart?
Well, you think your first day on the job was difficult. Look at mine. All questions have been answered in my mind. Like I said, once again, we're in a situation where things have changed over a period of time. And one thing about jobs like this, you have to make the decisions that have to be made. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your professional input. And thank you for the valued comments from the citizens. I do appreciate it, and appreciate Mr. Oliver for his service to the community. I've been a pastor for a number of years, and I've been a pharmacist for a number of years, and I appreciate those who have come before me. Thank you.
I've sat up here a long time, and some of the things I've heard about different things we do, but it's always somebody who's mentioned the charter about we should live by the charter. So if the charter tells us that, I'll go with that. But I'll just say, for instance, I don't know what happened, but back when I run for mayor, I had to, and I will also tell you that when I had to run for mayor back 7 years ago, I had to give my seat up. I had to put the date in and give my seat up. That way we could have the election at the same time for just my seat. So I don't understand how that come about, why it happened, I don't know. But I also know Commissioner Kennedy was on the Planning and Zoning Board. He had to give his seat up before we voted. So for some reason, that we didn't do it on the other. The other thing is about the commission, the citizens in District 4. The citizens in District 4 is not going to lose out till next year. We've got a gentleman that's going to fill that seat, that'll work on that job as good as anybody else will work on it. And I think he's a good person, and I think he'll do a good job. So it will still be, it's just going to be, instead of a month and a half, it'll be 10 months. So that's what we're looking at. All right, Commissioners, I need a motion.
I'd like to make a comment and a motion.
Yeah.
I want to thank especially all the citizens for their comments. I take them seriously. As I said, my goal is to, as Commissioner Wilson said, live by the charter, to do the right thing. I personally believe the scheduling of the special election was, in my humble opinion, a mistake. And I think it's never too late to do the right thing. The charter clearly says if a general city election will be held within 12 months, that's where the successor will be chosen. I take the comments especially about possibly denying District 4 voters the chance to choose their representative, but it seems clear that the intent is that that vote be within 12 months. That's not onerous. So I would make a motion based on that. I think it's the right thing to do to obey the charter simply, is to postpone the special election, rescind it per the advice of the attorney, to pass the resolution, and to move to a general city election for the District 4 seat, March 19, 2024.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Kennedy. Do I hear a second?
Second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Firstner. Any more comments from the dais? All right, let's vote. Jesus Christ. Motion carries 4-1. To do the vote and,
To adopt the resolution.
yeah, read it out. Read it out.
Sure, I'll read the title to the resolution. So it's a resolution of the City of Ocoee, Florida, rescinding the city's call for a special election for the District 4 Commission seat scheduled for June 13th, 2023, calling instead for a general city election and scheduling such election on March 19th, 2024, to coincide with Orange County Municipal Election Day and the presidential preference primary for that election for the District 4 Commission seat. Proposed amendments to the city charter and any other matters requiring a municipal election, providing for severability and a savings clause, and providing for conflicts and an effective date.
All right.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, you can.
Thank you. I believe in the charter. I would have voted yes, but I felt as though I was very torn between our previous vote. So I do believe in the charter, I support the charter, but I was torn.
All right, we need to move on. I hope we get down to comments from commissioners. Commissioner Kennedy.
I have no comments other than that, as I said at the last meeting, I will file my commissioner report at the second meeting of the month.
All right, Commissioner Wilson.
Yes. Just for the, anyone who has to have a ethics training, the Tri-County League of Cities will be doing an ethics training on Friday, May 19th in Castleberry. It's a 4-hour training that we must all abide by, whether you do it online or other directions, but the Tri-County League of Cities is offering that. I just want to go ahead and make some comments. I've seen where our city has come a long ways. You know, before COVID, after COVID, a lot of things changed. And I just went ahead and I started writing down some things that I realized that the city has accomplished in the period of time, maybe in the last 5-6 years, that, yes, COVID did stop some things, slowed some things down. We were very fortunate here with the city that we did not have any layoffs. We did not furlough anyone. So, and again, tagging on what Mr. Moyer had spoke about tonight, I kind of just made a list of some of the things of where we have come with the city in, should I say, maybe the last 6-7 years. And I think it's important for us to realize things do move slowly. Maybe don't move as fast as we want them to, but we've had a new city hall. We've enlarged the Lakeshore Center. We improved the Bill Breeze Park. There was infrastructure improvements on Bluford Avenue, along with the streetscape improvements. We're nearing completion of the Stormwater Park, which is going to be called Unity Park. We just have a new park, Healthy West Orange, which is across from the police department. We have our CRA, which is our Community Redevelopment Agency. That has improved the tax base along 50 West. So we should be very proud of what's happened over there along 50 West. We're going to be demoing the old City Hall. We've tripled our budget for sidewalks, and we have a lot more to go. Road resurfacing went from double to triple. We have a skate park that's near completion. We're going to be seeing improvements along Bluford Avenue, the roundabout that was mentioned at Montgomery, but there's also roundabouts that are going to be happening on Bluford. The Montgomery Park, the dog park. And again, a lot of times, things are slowed down because we deal with other agencies that have to approve things. So some things they do get slowed down. But we've seen a lot happen in Ocoee, and I think we should be very proud of what's happened in Ocoee. Thank you.
Commissioner Fershner.
Cinco de Mayo block party this Friday is 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. right here downtown. Come on out. The police department is hosting a community picnic at Freedom Park, which is at 351 Thornbrook Drive down in District 3, May 20th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Come on out. And also the Asian Cultural Festival, which we got a preview of that earlier tonight. May 14th from 11 until 4, which will be right here next door at the Lakeshore Center in Bill Breeze Park. Come on out. That's it.
Commissioner Hart?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I'd like to thank the city staff for the warm welcome I've received as I'm coming on board. I appreciate your time, your patience. I was telling the mayor, if I felt any more at home, I'd take out the trash and cut the grass, but you guys have made a great job of making me feel at home. I had a great time at the Music Fest. I forgot to mention that last week. I had to teach my daughter that when Nico Moon said water drinkers, he wasn't talking about H2O. It had an ethanol group in it, so she understands now, but we had a great time, and I laughed because I got in the car with her, and she was playing I Don't Want to Hear Any Sad Songs on her iPod, so I thought that was great. Had the privilege of going to the Ocoee High School honors program yesterday. Mr. Ben Hargrave, a fabulous young man. His parents ought to be commended for a great young man that he is. Invited me. Of course, he hit me up for some cupcakes, which was great. But I was so proud to see some students from Ocoee going to Brown University with a full ride, going to New York University, going to University of Florida, University of Central Florida, University of Florida State University, and of course my alma mater, Florida A&M. We have a lot to be proud of here in Ocoee. We have some bright, bright students, and I always say children are like gardens. When you see a child doing that well, that means somebody spent a lot of time with them. So I commend you parents for the great job you've done with your kids. Let's encourage each other, watch out for our children. The old African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. And once again, before I close out, Mother's Day is coming up, and I want to make sure I give a special shout out to all the moms in City Hall. Special shout out to Commissioner Wilson, who's a mom. I met her daughter, and her daughter's just like her, and it's amazing. But we thank God for all the moms, and thank God for my wife, who's the mother of my 3 children. So thank you. I'm here to serve to the best of my ability. I ask for your prayers and your support, and looking forward to having a great time and serving you. God bless you.
All right, I got a couple things. One of them I need to read. I went to the homeowner association meeting last night for Westmere. I want to follow up on the Westmere Streets issue I brought up at the last commission meeting. If you recall, the city commission directed staff to attend a meeting with the Westmere HOA and residents of Westmere. That meeting took place last night, and I attended along with Development Service Director Mike Rumer. There are certainly a lot of issues, and I believe the residents and HOA board can come to an agreement. Therefore, I want to seek approval from the city commission to direct staff to rescind the arbor permit and hold on the issuance of such permit until the residents of Westmere, the Westmere HOA, and city staff can come to an agreeable resolution. This action will allow additional time for staff to research and further conversations between all parties. Mike Rumer, the Development Service Director, has no objection to this request. So I'm asking the commissioners, is it okay if we?
The 440 trees?
Yes.
Yes.
Do we need to just do a consensus?
Yep. Yes.
Rob? Okay. All right, the other one is announcements. The Planning and Zoning Commission will have 3 vacancies coming up next month. If you are interested in serving on the P&Z board, you can download a board application from the city's website or contact the city clerk's department at 407-905-3105 for more information on how to apply. The 3 vacancies will be filled in June. The other thing is citizens call me a lot of emails, in which I appreciate. I try to answer them all. I pretty much do answer them all, or I go see them. But I get these letters, and I walk into City Hall, and there'll be an envelope there with my name on it, but there's no address, no phone number. It's just somebody telling me, what we need to do in the city. Well, it's okay to tell me the things to do, but when I cannot contact you to tell you some of the things you asked for is not in the city. So if you're listening tonight, Silver Star Road in front of the post office is not our road. That is not ours. And the, one of the other ones is she asked about Adair, and I talked to the Public Works Director. That's coming up within the next month, is what he said. So that'll be happening. But like I said, I love answering things, and if you send me your name or your number, I'm not gonna give it out to anybody. But I have to be able to call you back, be able to talk to you, to tell you what we're gonna try to do and what we are gonna do, because when I don't have any names on it, I don't know who to call or what. So that's what I'll put it on my Facebook, but I also wanted to tell it tonight and see whoever's listening will understand it. You need to just put your name or just put your phone number, and I'll call you back and talk to you about what your problems are. And the other thing is getting the sidewalk money reallocated, Rob, for doing the rest of the sidewalks. So I know.
Mayor, you're referring to the extra list that we
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we'll take care of that.
Yeah, because we have a lot of sidewalks that are problems with them, so we need to.
If we, I think we did not have to do a mid-year budget adjustment, so we can always, and we may have to bring an item before you where you can authorize just a borrowing from one fund to another, so we can get that started before the end of the year.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for coming. We always appreciate citizens making comments. We had a few tonight, and that's nothing wrong with that. That's what it's about. So we appreciate you coming out, making your comments. And thanks, commissioners, and see you in 2 weeks, the 16th.